My husband keeps getting me pregnant and won't consider the snip and told me it's my body, my choice. Let's see if it's still a choice when I take the kids away and separate. My husband Jack, 28M, and I, 27F, have been together for 4 years, and we have 2 young children, 3F and 2M. I am now pregnant again, and it feels like I've been pregnant for most of our relationship. I got pregnant 4 months after we started dating, and we got married a month before our daughter's first birthday and ended up with a honeymoon baby. After our son was born, I talked to my OB, and she put me on birth control, which I've been taking religiously. A little over a month ago, I discovered I am pregnant again, despite staying on top of my birth control. I cannot delete the fetus in my state, and the pregnancy was discovered too far along to attempt it out of state. While Jack and I were nervous, we also love being parents and decided that 3 young kids would be a challenge, but 3 was a good number for us. Then we went in for the first ultrasound and got some unexpected news: it's twins. Things have been tough financially, and while we were stressed but excited for a 3rd child, we were not expecting a 3rd and 4th child. Beyond the finances, I'm the primary caretaker, and I know that twins are going to be a lot. 3 children under 5 are already a lot, but 4 children under 5 is going to be really, really difficult for me. Physically, I'm tired of being pregnant. I've been pregnant or breastfeeding for the majority of our relationship. It's exhausting, it feels awful, and I don't recognize my body anymore. 4 children are enough, and I don't want more. I told Jack that I was done with pregnancy. I've been pregnant enough, and I've been experimenting with different types of birth control for over a decade, and I still can't stop getting pregnant. Fetus deletus isn't a valid option where we live, so we need something more permanent. He agreed and suggested an IUD. I told him no because if it did fail, then it could cause an ectopic pregnancy, which could unalive me, especially where we live. Birth control has failed me multiple times already, and I'm not taking the chance, so I suggested a vasectomy. He was not open to the idea and was even upset that I suggested it. He told me I should get my tubes tied. I told him a tubal ligation is a much bigger surgery, and I could be recovering for weeks, during which time I wouldn't be able to work or take care of our 4 young children, but he could ice his balls for a day or 2 and be done with it. He told me that not getting pregnant was ultimately my responsibility and topped it off by saying, "That's what your body, your choice means, your body, so you choose." That's when it went from a discussion to a full-blown fight. When I was 19, I had another birth control failure with my boyfriend at the time, whom I'll call Tom. I wanted to terminate the pregnancy, but Tom did not because he was opposed. I told him I was getting it done since it was my body and my choice, and Tom said some horrible things to me, including threatening me. I broke up with him and got the operation done. In response, Tom ended up following me one night and tried to unalive me for unaliving his baby. I don't want to go into detail, but it was horrible, and he ended up going to prison for a number of charges related to the attack. Not only do I have a number of scars and some long-lasting physical effects, but I also have PTSD. Jack knows about my history and diagnosis and has known from the beginning. I have a pretty prominent facial scar, so I was upfront about it early on in our dating. Jack always presented himself as very pro-choice, so I was shocked that he would say that. I got really emotional and started crying and shouting, and it turned into a full-blown fight. Eventually, I said that birth control is a two-way street, and so far, I've been the only one managing it, and he said, "And now we have 2 kids and 2 more coming, so great job." I told him he sounded like Tom, and he got super pissed and basically said, "How dare you compare me to him? You know what, maybe someday I might want kids one day with someone who doesn't compare me to her felon ex-boyfriend." I was stunned and horrified. I said, "Well then let's not waste any effing time," then packed up myself and the kids and drove to my parents' place. It's been about a week since the fight. I've spoken with Jack a few times, and he has since apologized and said he was out of line and speaking from a place of anxiety after finding out about the twins. However, he also mentioned that I said things that were out of line and it was wrong of me to insist he undergo a medical procedure. He said we can move on from the things I said and that he wants to see his children and be a family again. I told him no, that I didn't want to move on from the things he said to me. I can't just get over that, and I think we need space apart. Jack was upset by this, and while we talked, I brought up getting a separation agreement to manage custody and finances while we figure things out. He did not like this suggestion and said we didn't need to pull the courts into this. I haven't told many people about what's happening, just my family and a couple of close friends. My sister and best friend both think I should throw the whole man away, but my brother, who is the only other one married with kids, thinks that I'm being extreme for what amounts to a fight between 2 scared people who both said nasty things. My mom is trying to be supportive but occasionally reminds me that I don't want to be a single mother of 4 and tells me not to let my PTSD drive my decisions, while my dad is being completely unhelpful. I don't know what to do. My kids are happy to be at grandma and grandpa's house, but they miss their daddy. I'm 4 months pregnant and already uncomfortable as hell. I wish I could go back to being a happy little family, but I'm so hung up on the things he said in that fight. Am I destroying my family over one bad night? Edit. I've noticed a lot of people recommending condoms. I have gotten pregnant with condoms twice. Our second child and my first pregnancy were both conceived using condoms properly, so I do not trust condoms enough to not fail a third time. To clarify, when I say the first pregnancy, I mean the pregnancy with Tom. With Jack, I was on the patch when I got pregnant with our daughter, condoms with our son, and the pill with the twins. So far, I haven't ever suspected that Jack has tampered with our birth control and always presumed that I'm a fertile myrtle. While I know I always use condoms properly with Tom, I do believe that Tom could have been fully capable of sabotaging the condoms. Update 1. I didn't expect so many comments and literally couldn't go through them all. It seemed like the majority of people said I was not the jerk, but I did get a lot of people telling me I was wrong for trying to force him to get a medical procedure and telling me to get one instead. Besides already addressing my reasons why I made my request in the original post, I in no way am forcing him to have a medical procedure, but I am saying that I do not want to be with a partner who is not willing to be snipped. This is an issue of compatibility. The number of children you want, the methods of birth control you're willing to use, those are issues of compatibility and a reason relationships end all the time. If he doesn't want to be sterilized, that's fine, but then that means that we're not compatible anymore, since it means he wants more children and I don't. Beyond that, there were some comments and some DMs that were just nasty, calling me a mass unaliver and saying my body is a cemetery. Sadly enough, I expected those types of comments, because I know there are a lot of Toms out in the world. To clarify on someone saying my husband is a narcissist, abuser, psychopath, and he does no childcare, my husband and I historically have had a really healthy and loving relationship outside of this fight. In fact, this fight is the first time we've really had a serious argument, as we've only ever had minor disagreements that we've been able to talk through. He's an active father, and the reason I do the majority of childcare is due to circumstances between maternity leaves, our job schedules, and the fact that I breastfed my babies. Someone also presumed I'm the breadwinner, which isn't quite true. Jack makes more than me, but we do not have deeply significant differences in our incomes. When he is home, he does his fair share of cleaning and cooking, arguably more than me at times, and parenting. That being said, the things he said in the heat of the moment were deeply concerning, and we're addressing that together. So, to get down to the nitty-gritty of the real update, since the last time I posted, Jack and I have sat down together and had a real come-to-Jesus talk. I'm not going to go through the whole breakdown, but it basically boiled down to this: it's the vasectomy, but it's more than the vasectomy. It was wrong of me to compare him to Tom, but it was even more wrong of him to weaponize my trauma against me in a very malicious way. The way he intentionally used the same language my abuser used in an effort to hurt me was not acceptable and damaged the trust between us. He agreed it was not acceptable and said that in the aftermath he was horrified and ashamed of his own words, and that he, as an explanation and not an excuse, kind of snapped under the stress. Oh, and what he said about his next wife was not an indication of him not being committed to me, but was because he felt hurt and wanted to hurt me back. He has apologized numerous times and seems to genuinely feel bad about it. As for the separation, I am still going forward with it. I need space and time, and I need to take that before the babies come. I'm still staying with my parents, who, for the record, are not sick of me or the kids. We're a tight-knit family, and I only moved out when I moved in with Jack, and my sister moved out about a year ago, so they have been empty nesting, and my mom doesn't like that we live too far, aka an hour away. What I have realized with space and time is how deeply triggering it was, in a way that I cannot explain to those without PTSD from DV. Those who know will know. It has deeply unsettled me, and I'm having a hard time getting over it, so to speak. There is now a lot of fear of my husband that was never there before, and it's going to take a lot to repair that trust and sense of safety. I cannot make a decision while I'm in this space, and I am addressing this with my personal therapist. Overall, I told him that if he wanted to stay married to me, I needed 2 things from him: marriage counseling and a vasectomy, and even then I still cannot guarantee him anything. He understands, but I do not know what will happen with the vasectomy right now. We focus more on talking about the fight, but he is very aware that it's now a deal breaker. The marriage counseling appointment is set up for next week. I'm hoping that counseling will bring some clarity to the situation, and in the meantime, for the next couple of months, I'm focusing on giving my kids lots of cuddles and preparing myself for 2 new babies to come into my world, with or without Jack.